Hey guys, Angryaa here. This is a Necromancer guide to guide you through the Season 2 of Project Diablo. How do you level as a Necromancer? Firstly, I highly recommend leveling as a Raised Skeleton Summoner. Max Raised Skeleton, then Max Skeletal Mastery, then Max Raised Skeletal Magi, and you can put 1 point in Amp Damage and 1 point in the Teleport for good measure. This will allow you to level very quickly and easily both through Normal and through Nightmare. Once you reach Hell, you have two options. Option 1 is respec into Clay Golem Necromancer. That's maxing out Clay Golem and maxing out Golem Mastery, as well as maxing out Amp Damage. With this spec, you can pretty much do all Hell content without any issues. Here's me farming Pit. Pit is an amazing starting area for farming gear. If you're just getting started in Hell difficulty, I'm doing it completely naked. And you can go slow and steady through Hell with absolutely no problems. Option 2, spec into Fire Golems. Maxing out Fire Golem, Golem Mastery, and lower resist means you can cruise through any area that doesn't have fire immunes, like Stony Tomb, which I'm farming now. Or you can farm Malicium, which also has no fire immunes. Maggot Lair is also a good option, containing no fire immunes and dropping some of the best loot in the game. It's also not as bad to farm in PD2 because the corridors are being widened significantly, so as long as you have enough lightning res to deal with the beetles, it's more than fine. And finally, my personal favorite, you can farm Hell Cows with absolutely no gear, with fire elementals at a decent pace. You can stack Magic Find, you can stack skills to increase your farm speed. It's a great starting area for a player that is new in Hell. Do note though that you are going to need to kill Hellbale before you can access this zone, but if you do, it's well worth it for farming. Some of you may be asking, Angryaa, are revives good? This is 8 revives with 44 in skills, trying to clear the beginning of Chaos Sanctuary. I'll let you decide whether revive is a good skill after the nerf for yourself. Yeah, it's bad. The next question may be, what do you do after you've finished doing your golem farming and you have some decent gear? Once you have around plus 15 to all skills, so around skeleton level 35, you can respec into pure summon skeleton once again, just like your leveling spec, and this time it's going to go a lot smoother. You can put in a bunch into amp damage, max out curse mastery, and you can even put points into decrepify and lower resist. This is going to give you a lot of group utility, and it's also not that bad for solo play. And now you can start farming harder zones like Chaos Sanctuary and start working on completing your gear so you can get ready for endgame mapping. Once you've farmed up a bunch and you've hit endgame, you have two strong options for specs to play in the endgame. The first one is Poison. Poison has a very high barrier to entry. You're going to need very good gear, at least a Death's Web and full Trangs, but ideally full Skillers as well as a bunch of Poison facets. If you get to that point though, it is an incredible build that is probably one of the fastest solo mappers in the game. You can basically sometimes two-shot mobs with your Poison, break poison immunes, and just cruise around and destroy maps. It is a little bit dangerous in hardcore. If you go too fast in hardcore, there's a good chance you might get swarmed and die. But overall, a very strong and fantastic build for the endgame. Your other option for endgame mapping is just taking the skeleton build all the way to the late game. This is pushing your Raised Skeleton and Skeleton Mastery to the highest levels possible, as well as getting a very strong amp damage, along with Decrepify and lower resist for group play, and just basically cruising through maps with skeletons that are doing huge amounts of damage and are massively boosted by your curses. This is a great build for solo, it's a great build in group play. It can basically do everything, and because it's largely physical damage and you can easily break phys immunes, there's no monster in the game that can really stop you. You can teleport around at a fairly fast speed, and your minions and your mercenary are just going to carve through maps and have a great time. Really like this build, and this is the one I'm personally going to be doing in the new league. Now you might be asking, what about Dark Pact? What about Corpse Explosion? Or some other Necro build? The reason I haven't mentioned those builds is because I feel that they're just not quite as good. That being said, honorable mention to Bone Necros. At no point in the game does Bone Necro feel bad. It might be slightly slower than Summoner, or not as safe as Summoner, but in general, it's a solid build that's never going to disappoint at any point in the game. If you don't like summons, just go Bone, you'll have a good time overall, I guarantee it. That's it from me, I hope you've enjoyed the guide. If you want to see more of me, I do stream on Twitch at Angryaa. I'm going to be streaming the launch of Season 2 in a full group, and we're going to be pushing to Hellbell ASAP, and we're going to be going Fire Golems, and then switching into Scalamancer once I have the gear, and pushing Summoner into the endgame. Hope you've enjoyed the guide, and hopefully I'll be able to provide more content for you guys in the future. Cheers.